Here we go. I want to welcome you to the Montana State Chapter Local President and Vice President Training. This is intended to be a brief overview of your duties as President and Vice President. We could do several hours on detailed training, but we won't do that tonight. There will be time for questions at the end. And right now, I am Linda Miney, the Montana State Chapter President for 6 more weeks, but who's counting? And Kristen Hope, Vice President of Montana State Chapter, will highlight the duties of the Vice President. I want to know, first of all, how many of you are a first-time president? Can you just raise your hands? 2, 3. I'm going to the second screen. 4, 5, 6. Well, quite a few of you are first-time presidents. And so I want to thank you for saying yes. And I bet you're wondering, now what? But secondly, congratulations, your chapter believes in you and in your leadership skills. Today, I'm going to briefly talk about the following topics. Sources of information. I'm going to try to do a brief tour of the Hub and the Montana website. The President's Book, Ceremony of Initiation, mentoring, and just a few hints for success. So, as the president, you are the authority of your chapter. You have the information to answer all the questions. I see you smiling, but the key is knowing where to look for that information. So, the President and Vice President guide that was attached to the Zoom link tonight has a list of sources of information available to you. There's the P.E.O, Constitution, Bylaws, and Standing Rules, which is a beautiful teal color as of CIC this fall. Instructions to officers of local chapters, or as we refer to it lovingly, the IOLC. The President's Book, which everybody knows is beige pictures or buff papers. Can't see that. Try as I might. And training from your predecessor is a great source of information. The International P.E.O website, which is www.peointernational.org, and the Montana State Chapter website, which is montana.peo.org. There is also the Montana State Chapter Proceedings and Bylaws. Your Montana State Chapter newsletters, which is our Marguerite, and any president's messages or officer messages that come to you. Your chapter bylaws, your chapter yearbook, the P.E.O record, and finally, the Executive Board of Montana State Chapter is an excellent resource. Granted, some of these are not exactly exciting reading, but they do provide the answers to the information about most of your questions. You should try to read and become familiar with Part 3 of the Constitution, or of the Constitution, which is also the duties of your office according to international, and then also become familiar with your duties and your other chapter officers in the IOLC. And if you can, make sure you become familiar with the Montana proceedings, which are in your yellow book. Hopefully you've all received this passed down. As chapter leaders, you have knowledge probably with other offices that you have held. Excuse me for saying, my goal was not to say a lot. The instructions to the officers of local chapters was updated January 2026. So if you have a revision or an older version of the IOLC, you need to log on to the international website and download the latest version. Montana State Chapter proceedings and bylaws also have a wealth of information specific to the governance of the workings of the Montana State chapters. These are updated annually and are available on the state website after convention. Please try to become familiar with navigating both websites, which I'm going to demo for you in a minute. Keep in mind that you need a password that is unique to both websites. The international website recognizes the email you have on file at International as your username. You will enter a specific password unique to you. The state website only recognizes your 7-digit member ID number, which can be found on the international website or on the back of the record. This will be your username for the state website, and then you will create a password that's unique to the state website. Remember the passwords because we do not have access to them. However, there's always a place in case you forgot your password on each of the websites so that you can make a new one. So if I can share my screen properly, we're going to take a little tour of the international website first. When you first log into www.peointernational.org, this is the first screen that you're going to see. And you're going to go to member login. Normally, you will see a screen that tells you to put your email address in and then create your password. But mine automatically is remembering what my logins are. So I have jumped right into the P.E.O hub. On the left side of this is what we call the left side navigation window. The first thing that generally comes up is the dashboard, and that is where my chapter information, my officers, my members, they all reside on these 3 links. I also get notices sometimes of things that I have to do. For example, I had to sign the state chapter annual dues form, and I had a note in here that that would be something I would need to do. Down here are shortcuts. This is the contact us. If you are struggling with any part of the hub, it's pretty easy to do a contact us, and it's probably better for you to do it directly than for me to do it. That way you're going to get the answer quicker and not have to rely on a delay for me to send it to you. Also, there is P.E.O Hub training, very useful. There is What's New resources. And there's also a link that takes you back to the international website for non-members. But we'll talk a little bit about this side. The search library up here has a drop-down, and you can search by 3 methods. You can search the library, or you can search the website, or you can search for members. But I primarily use search the library. When you are looking for something in the library, it is best to use 1 or 2 words. We have found that that is the best thing for us to do. I'm going to type in here council, because we all know that we need to counsel our new members. So when I do that and hit enter, I'm right into the document library. And as you can see, there's a council for membership booklet, which includes information about pre-acceptance counseling and about post-initiation counseling. This pre-acceptance counseling and this one here are specific for those things, and a couple of these might be PowerPoints. When I did this by pre-acceptance, let me clear that, and I'm typing pre-acceptance. It took me right to just pre-acceptance. So the less information you give in the library search box, the better off you're going to be. Down here under chapters and groups, there's information about local chapters, SPD chapters, international. You can search for any member across the nation and in Canada if you know her name. And then there's non-member intro. This is the formally introduction of a woman who is not a PEO. And I cannot click in some of these boxes because we've learned we should not be showing personal information if we want our recordings to go onto the website. But I encourage you just to click and take a look around any of this information. It's there and available to you. The next section was annual reports. If you are a president, the only part of annual reports that you are involved in anymore are signing off after your corresponding secretary has done all of the pre-work. Your treasurer has done the dues roster and has gotten the dues form. That is when you will get an email and you will need to sign off. There is training that went with it. So this is probably more going to be after the first of the year information for you. The third title is resources. This is where you can find past editions of the record. You can find a bed and breakfast across the nation. There is also a TLC committee if you're ever in a city or somewhere where you might have had an accident. You might be able to find some assistance through this TLC. There is a transfer list. I can't click on that because there is a name in there right now that has just transferred to another chapter in Montana. But if you get those introductions to a introduction of a woman who is not a PEO, work those right away. They go out within a 30-mile radius of all of your chapters, and they go to the president of those chapters. There is also leadership development, and I can click on that, which gives different resources for both. I have SPD privileges. You probably won't see this, but you will see leadership for local officers and just very interesting sources, programs, things that you can use to help you as you guide your chapter. And then reports. Reports is another section. I'm not sure you would see the same list of reports that I see, but you might see some that would be beneficial. As a state officer, I have access to quite a few reports, which one of these is the election of officer reporting, and it runs and it tells me which chapters in Montana haven't quite finished the process of updating their officers for the year. There is a section called shops and donations, and I like this section. Who doesn't like to shop? There is Herf Jones, which is it's the company that does your emblem, but they also have fabulous jewelry. There is a chapter supply section. When you click on this section, you are taken outside of the hub and you will be directed to log in a different manner. It's using your 7-digit PEO member number, but then you have to use your chapter letters backslash Montana, excuse me, MT. Sorry about that. I lost my train of thought. And then you log in And then you will see a whole list of supplies by office, such as president, vice president, recording secretary, corresponding secretary. So let's go back to where we were. I think I need to just close this. Okay. And you can order an emblem for a new member right on this part of the website. The other important part of this left navigation is projects from the foundation. If you click on ELF, it talks to you about step-by-step procedure for sponsoring an applicant. There are resources, the chapter procedure for sponsoring it, summary, interview, and recommendation. All of this information is there for you. The only applicants we don't seek are IPS ones, but for certain sure, we seek ELF, PCE, PSA, STAR, and COTI college students. There is this other section down here called My Messages, and I can't click on that because I have a couple of them in there that I've already taken care of, and I need to do a contact us to ask how to get them out of my messages. And then we have down here My Profile, and that's where you can go in and you can change your email address, your mailing address, your phone number, anything that has to do with your profile, you can change yourself. And then, of course, there's the log out. I rarely log out, which is probably not a really good thing, but I don't like to have to log in all of the time, so I log out. Okay. We will now attempt to do the Montana website. And I've already logged in down here because it would show my member number and it doesn't show my password, but I've already logged in. So I'm on the members home page, and the topics I want to talk about are what's new, and this is something that our webmaster, Diane Warden, updates. And as you can see, her last post was April the 19th, and it's the new Montana Marguerite newsletter. There is also an update on OC1 and OC2 pages, which bring me to the next tab, Proceedings and Forms. Under Proceedings and Forms, you will see that there will be updated minutes for the 2026 convention, and then updated R pages, which will be in the packets for everybody at convention. And if I keep going, you'll see Montana state bylaws and standing rules, which will have to be updated if any of the amendments pass at convention. And then there is the officer and state committees. So say, for example, you want to know who is on our JHH committee. So you would click on that link, that blue link, and you're already onto the page where we have amendments, recommendations, COTI College. And there is Jane's name. She is the chair of that committee. So any of those forms are a blue hyperlink, which will take you to that form. The organizer pages are the next group, and they're what we call the O pages. And you will, in the past, we mailed them, but last year we went to the email process for and they're also PDF forms, which can be fillable. But what we did was try to save postage on sending out our packets and allowing the chapters to actually email those reports back to us. This is what you will be preparing if you have an official visit this fall. Finally, there's this local chapter area. And there is a local chapter area where you can print the whole entire print package, which will give you all of these LC pages. Or there are individual printing. There's the JHH scholarship application. There are, what I want to point out in here is this LC2, helpful hints for local chapter president. And if you're ever wondering what you should be doing when, I suggest that you print this timeline out and put it into the front of your book, because it talks about the different duties according to the month in which you will be working. There's an LC2, and the second page of it is here, LC2A, May to June, August to September, and etc. There's also, for your chapter, corresponding secretary and treasurer, those are on the LC3 and the LC3A and the LC4. So when we talk about trying to find things for when we get questions and people say, well, where is that at? We try to attach the form, but then we also try to tell you where to find it on the website. So this is the section, proceedings and forms, right here where you will find that. There is information about the projects. And then the other tab is resources. And under resources, there is newsletters, which is our older e-sisters, which we have not done this year. To try to cut down on emails, we did targeted emails. And there's officer resources. This is a list on the state website about the various resources for you as president and vice president. Under resources, officer resources. And this is where you will also find recordings of training. It's under the videos tab. And
sometimes it takes a minute.
Yeah, it does. Especially if my internet might be slow. And I want to show you the mall, which is things that are for sale in the state of Montana by various chapters. That's also under resources. Okay. So that's just a brief overview of those websites, and I will stop sharing my screen and hope I didn't make you too sick. I'd like you to take some time just to investigate both of the websites. You're not going to do any damage just by clicking on something and checking it out. There's no way you can do anything to any of the documents. If you can't find an answer to your question or need confirmation, please reach out to us as state officers. But it just might be helpful if you indicate where you happen to have looked first and you still can't find it. And please include your name, your office, and your chapter letters in your emails or text messages to us. Sometimes we need to know what chapter you're in particular. Let's spend a few moments focusing on the President's Book. By now, you may have presided over a meeting or two, and you've had some training with your predecessor. We obviously can't go through the whole President's Work word by word, but we will focus on some highlights. The President's Book has supplemental information in italics, plus the appendices have information for running a meeting efficiently. The wording in italics can be used to answer some of your questions. I have to be honest, I have overlooked those italicized words after I only focus on the regular font. It is the chapter's decision on whether or not to recite the Lord's Prayer after the P.E.O. prayer. It is now acceptable to send draft minutes of the previous meeting to chapter sisters before the next meeting. However, this requires a bylaw change before it can be done, and the bylaw change is included in your bylaws. I want to make a note that corrections cannot be made to the draft minutes. They can only be made at the meeting. And if you do decide to do draft minutes, the official minutes can still be read to the chapter, because in the president's book, she will say, if there is no objection, the minutes will be approved as emailed. But if somebody objects, then the secretary has to be prepared to read the minutes. P.E.O. follows Robert's Rules of Order, which is a thick book about like that. However, most situations are addressed in the president's book appendices. For example, there is a table of contents that does accompany the appendix. A commonly used one is appendix number 6, treatment of a motion. Balloting procedures are detailed in appendix number 10. Please remind your chapter that talking or eating and drinking is not allowed during balloting. Another gray area is what is included under for the good of the chapter. This can be confusing. Information like a sister's change of contact information, presentation of a new member's emblem, or a sister's health update are acceptable for the good of the chapter. However, personal news that is not related directly to a sister should be shared following the close of the meeting. In my chapter, we do it under caring and sharing. The other tabs in the president's book that you should be familiar with are special meetings, installation, and initiation. Speaking of initiation, let's spend a little time on the ceremony of initiation. A healthy chapter is one that experiences growth in membership. In the reference guide that was attached to the link, it explains the process of sponsoring and balloting on names for membership. Pre-acceptance counseling. This is important once a name has been balloted upon successfully and the invitation to join your chapter has been sent. The president selects a committee who will meet with the possible new member to tell her all about P.E.O. and what she needs to do to accept your invitation. The international website does have an excellent PowerPoint for you to use, and you can find it under pre-acceptance. You can also download the Council for Membership booklet, which I showed you, as it covers pre-acceptance and post-initiation. After her acceptance letter has been received and read at a regular chapter meeting, arrange to meet with her again to let her know what to expect during the ceremony of initiation. As president, this is the time to ascertain her preference on placing her hand when she takes her vows upon the Bible or on her heart. Remember, this is her choice and not the chapter's. At that time, you might also want to prompt her to say, I am or I do during those parts that she will be required to answer. Practice, practice, practice. We can't emphasize that enough. Practicing the ceremony will give each officer the opportunity to get to know her part and the timing in relation to each officer, and her timing in relation to the other officers. Do not assume that everybody knows what to do. A well-practiced ceremony will make it more meaningful to the new initiate. The inside front cover of the ceremony of initiation booklets has information and hints for conferring the ceremony, so it will go smoothly. Your guard's duties. The guard sets the tone for the ceremony, and as president, you will need to know how the guard should prepare the table, including the initiatory emblem, which is placed on the table first in the center, how the ribbons and tassels are prepared, and remind her not to reach across the emblem, but to work her way around the table. There are 3 trips for the guard to make when she sets up the table. There are 2 trips when she takes the table down. Eye contact with the initiate. This is the first formal impression for your new member in her new chapter. Make it count by making eye contact with her throughout the ceremony. While memorization of the parts is no longer required, each officer should know her part well enough to make some eye contact with the initiate. Do you know what is the special work? Special work is no longer whispered. You may share the password and the meaning of our letters using a normal volume of voice, speaking directly to the new initiate. Why? Because witnessing the ceremony are already members who have heard it, and the new initiate needs to be able to hear the special work clearly. If initiating more than 1 member, but not more than 3 at once, the special work is given to each initiate individually. If you have an official visit this year, please be prepared to exemplify the ceremony of initiation. Our last subject before our hints is mentoring. Mentoring is vital to the success of your new member as well as the chapter. Without mentoring, it has been proven new members are more likely to go inactive. You want to keep that newest member? Here's what to do. There is a more detail in the reference guide that I did send, but as president, you will need to set up a post-initiation committee to meet with your new member. A mix of the committee should be one who sponsored her, experienced members, and yourself is a great start. Review the meeting procedures, chapter culture, expectations, and information about our projects with her. This cannot be done in one meeting. There's just too much for her to remember. So assign her a mentor, perhaps one who sponsored her. Encourage your new member to ask a lot of questions. They can be shy about asking, but reassure her that we were all new members at one time. Let her know you need her. Go ahead and assign her to a committee with one of her sponsors so she knows right away her talents are valued. Don't make her a chair, but assign her to a committee. And encourage the post-initiation committee to continue meeting your new members over the course of the next 1, 2, and 3 years. There is a 3-year mentoring program and a post-initiation counseling PowerPoint resource on the international website to use. While this sounds like a long time, it will be well worth it in the investment in your newest member to make her feel like she's a part of your team. Encourage all members of the chapter to become her mentors. Every chapter member has her own experience to share. Finally, a few hints for a successful year. Chapters are asked to set goals for the year. These often fall in line with the state and international goals. Be realistic in establishing them. Challenge your chapter a bit, but not so much your sisters feel overwhelmed. Write an agenda before each meeting so no business items are forgotten. Hint, write the agenda for the next meeting right after the current meeting so any unfinished and tabled business can be listed. And it's okay to table an item or refer it to a committee, especially if it is a business item that is taking too much time to discuss or has become a bit contentious. Some chapters have officer meetings to go over the agenda, review business and new business to be brought before the chapter, and to review officer duties and responsibilities. These chapters have found these bonus meetings build confidence, excitement, and relationships. They are a benefit to the leadership within those chapters. So take a deep breath, relax, and enjoy your year as president. It is truly rewarding. You will learn more about the inner workings of your chapter as well as P.E.O. in general. There's so much to cover. In the interest of time, this is my overview. Please don't hesitate to ask questions. I'm happy to help. And with that, I will turn it over to Kristen for the vice presidents.
Okay. All right. Welcome, vice presidents and presidents. Can we just have a show of hands if in your chapter you go from president to vice president? Okay, we've got a few. And then the others chapters, I'm assuming that you go from vice president to president. So each chapter does it just a little bit different. But vice presidents, your main job as vice president is to be prepared to step into the president's job if needed. And hopefully that won't happen, but your president may need to leave and go somewhere, and then you can serve as president, as her proxy president. There are some forms and instructions that you should be familiar with. In the instructions for local chapters, there is a part for vice presidents. I would look at that. Linda showed us that you can find it on the international website or the hub. The officers have a supply list, but as a vice president, you do not have a vice president or a supply list. But if you are like me, as being vice president for the state, I have a bookshelf of binders that are my supplies. So you probably do have supplies, but they're just not the official ones. During the organizer visit, you will be asked to recite the special works, which is the password and the meaning of our letters. It can be found on page 19 of the Ceremony of Initiation booklet. So be prepared to be able to recite that. And be prepared for your part for the ceremony of initiation as well. And Linda also mentioned that eye contact is very important. So know your part well enough that you don't have to be looking at your book every second. Your second big part as vice president is that you are in charge of balloting. So the recording secretary keeps the ballots, and she should have either the ballots that you can order from international or plain paper is fine, and pencils and pens. So when it is time to ballot, you should get those supplies from the recording secretary. And you should also have some kind of a container that members can put their ballot into. So you will, when the number of members entitled to vote is announced, then you distribute the ballots. Each member, after she has voted, she stands up if she's able, and then the president confirms that all have voted, and you can start collecting the ballots. There is a procedure for collecting ballots. You put your ballot in the container first, then you go to the president, then the recording secretary, and then the rest of the membership. And it doesn't matter the order that those go in. But just remember, you put yours in first, president, recording secretary. And that's so when you have collected all the ballots, the president and the recording secretary are ready to take the container from you and go and count the ballots. Just remember and encourage that the recording secretary will need to destroy those, put the ballots in an envelope and destroy them after the meeting. Instructions for balloting is on Appendix 10 in the President's book. So if you ever have a question about it, just ask to see that. There are procedures for balloting if you are running a virtual or a hybrid meeting. So if your chapter does do a virtual or hybrid, be familiar with the balloting procedures for those types of meetings. And last, the president or the vice president can serve on the membership committee. And it is actually recommended from International that the vice president does serve on the membership committee. Just let's have a show of hands of how many vice presidents do in your chapter or on the membership committee. Okay, good. Okay. You will also want to be on or attend the pre-acceptance and post-initiation meetings. And then also be very familiar with the 3-year mentoring program that Linda mentioned. If your president needs help with the new seeking a transfer for local chapters or the non-member form, we used to call them Introduction of a Woman, Not a P.E.O. It's all on the hub now, and I encourage you to explore that tab. There's training there to walk you through how it all works. So I would highly encourage you to explore that area because it's new to us and it's new to everyone. There's also a great document that I had on the link. I had attached it, or Linda attached it, and it's called Easy Steps to Making a Cold Call. And that is when you do have a name of a member, or not a member, but someone that is not a member, but there's been a recommendation for her. It just is a good guideline and things to talk to her about what P.E.O. is. If you want to look at that form, you can just type in the search bar on the hub cold call, and it will come up. There is some information on it that's old, but most of it is really good. Also, Linda mentioned the guide for the membership committees. It's Membership Begins with Me. That is a wonderful document, and I encourage everyone to read through that. And that is all that I have for vice presidents. So if you have questions, you may raise your hand. I would say for either president or vice president, or put something in the chat.
Kristen,
Yes.
in regards to the special work on page 19 in the ceremony of initiation, it really is the words that precede our password and the wording that precedes the meaning of our letters, because those are not written down in the book. And I was trying to read the chat, and some of it was about my computer, which, sorry, can't see where to raise my hand. The shortcuts get personalized to you. Okay. All right. Oh, so where to raise your hand is usually down below, and there's a heart on my machine and it says reaction or react. It's in the whereby participants chat. That's where you can raise your hand on the computer, or you can do this and we're liable to see it, except that we have 3 screens. So go ahead. We'll take, I see, let's see. Paulette, did you have a question? You need to unmute. No? Unmute.
It's wonderful. I've learned a lot. Many thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm going to repeat it.
Okay. Am I missing other questions?
Yes, in the chat, one says, I missed the presentation for the recording secretary on Monday. Is there going to be posted on the MSC website? No, because unfortunately, Christina, the state secretary, shared some personal information, and so we cannot put it onto the website, but she will be sending the link to all the recording secretaries. And you can have your recording secretary just forward it to you. Would you please give an example of 2 different for the good of the chapter and caring and sharing?
Okay. So for the good of the chapter, in ours, we do, if a sister's in the hospital, or if she needs meals, or say she's just moved to assisted living, we limit our for the good of the chapter to be specific information about our sisters. Under caring and sharing, some people refer to it, I've heard of it as brag. They pay $1 to brag, and in somebody will have gotten an award that's not a sister. Some military man might have just been promoted to lieutenant. That's a good example of caring and sharing. Does that make sense? I'm not sure who asked that question, but that is what we use caring and sharing for. If they want to brag about their family, or even if it's to offer prayers for a family member, that's okay. But it's for the good of the chapter is specific to the chapter, or an announcement about we need meals on wheels for a person in our chapter. Those are those. Okay.
Okay, next question. I am a new president and want to know how we receive the release letters for the treasurer.
Okay, the release letters now come, it's a chapter release letter. From what I understand, it's a chapter release letter, and it comes to the president, and you are to make a copy and put it in for the treasurer to put into her files. The old way was the corresponding secretary got a release letter and the treasurer got a release letter, and your state of Montana had to send all of those out. We no longer send them. They come direct from international when they have approved all of our membership numbers, which that takes them a while. They approve the membership numbers according to when your conventions are, and Montana's is late. There are conventions that occurred last weekend. I think that was the start of it. So they work on all of those before. So your release letter will come directly to the president, and she is to copy it and give it to the treasurer for her files.
Okay, next question. Is there a place on the website to know what the password and the letters of PEO stand for?
No, 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 sorry. No, that's why this is why I think it's so important that we now no longer have to whisper those special words, but they are never written down and you never divulge it on a website or anything like that.
If you are unsure, ask another member or a past chapter.
Ask your president.
Yeah.
Your president actually can give those words. Ask your president. And if it's your president that does not know them, have them contact the state organizer.
Yeah.
And she'll divulge those to them. Because those are, according to the ceremony, it is only the meaning is never spoken, is never written, and is only spoken by the one who is acting as president or organizer.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, next question. Should we print out the pages sent with the announcement of this meeting? I would say I would look at them. If you feel that they are beneficial to you, you are more than welcome to print them. But if you think you will never use them, then don't waste the paper. Or you can file them in a file on your computer.
Right. If you know where to find them, either on either website, we're not asking you to kill a lot of trees. You can not print.
Yes. Next question. I am a new president and want to know how to receive. Oh, sorry. I already read that one. Do we throw away the old Constitution booklet and does it have to be kept? Or does it have to be kept? No, you do. You throw away the old Constitution, which was deep purple. You throw that one away. Shredding would be best. And then you just keep the new teal one.
It was asked in my chapter if every officer had to have one. And I don't think that's a requirement anymore. But our chapter went ahead and ordered them for all of the officers off of the website because they all felt it was important to have it.
Yes.
They only give you one copy now, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last question is, we have someone who wants to reactivate and join our chapter. What is the procedure?
There is a flow chart in the IOLC under corresponding secretaries. Who's got that?
Share it.
Are you? Good. You can do that. In the IOLC that talks about, because it sounds like she's inactive. And so is she transferring in from, was she inactive in your chapter or in another chapter? That's going to matter. But she would have to pay a reinstatement fee, which is now $50. It used to be $35, but that's the initiation fee, but she will have to pay a reinstatement fee. And do you have that up and ready to go?
It wouldn't come up.
Oh,
I have it in the right place.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's tricky. So if you can contact your corresponding secretary, she has that flow chart and it explains step by step. And different scenarios. Oh, more questions?
Okay. Let me see where I'm at. Oh, she's not a member of our chapter. So is she an inactive PEO member of another chapter? Is probably what. If she is, then you are going to be doing a reinstatement and transfer. That flow chart that Linda mentioned tells you exactly how to do it. If it's still confusing, then you can contact Kelly Palladino, the state organizer, and she will be more than happy to help you.
Or any of us.
Or any of us, yeah. I can't recommend highly enough to use the reaffirming of vows appendix when reinstating someone into your chapter.
That is a great suggestion. And
which officer keeps the new membership kits in their supplies?
wow. Do you have an answer for that one, Kristen?
I would say if the vice president is on the membership committee, then the vice president should keep those. If not, then the chair of the membership committee should have it. I think that's all. Does anybody not know how to do the chat and would just rather talk?
Okay. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I will stop the recording.